All right, good evening, everybody. Being 6:30, we're going to go ahead and get started. For the record, I'll point out all council members are present except for Councilman Dorito, who we are still expecting, and Mayor Gilvin will be absent this evening, and I will take the middle seat from the left side. A couple of items real quick. In case you're here for any of these items, they will not be heard this evening. Number one is MP-26-085905, which is the Windward Parkway Restaurant. That will not be heard tonight. Second one is MP-26-05/CLUP-26-03/Z-2603, Empire Old Milton Parkway, will not be heard this evening. Number three is PH-26-U08, the Unified Development Code Text Amendment for Signs. And then there is a workshop scheduled this evening to cover the Alcohol Text Amendment. That will not be heard this evening either. So if you're here for any of those four, unless you just have nowhere to go, you're excused if you want to. All right, as we usually start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, if you'd all join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item up this evening is the consent agenda, including right-of-way deed agreement and intergovernmental agreement with Fulton County and private development. Continuum. Would anybody like to remove any of these items?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to remove item A, the right-of-way deed agreement, and ask that staff make a presentation on it.
Do I have a second? We don't need a second on that, do we, Molly?
No.
Okay. All right, I will remove the right-of-way deed from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion on the remaining?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Brady, second by Councilman Reeves. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. All right, we're bringing that item back up now? In new business, okay. Somebody may need to remind me of that. All right, moving along. Public hearing announcement of public hearing procedures from our attorney, Ms. Eswine.
An individual requesting to be heard on a matter related to the purpose of the hearing must be recognized by the mayor or chair before addressing the city council. Upon rising to speak, the speaker must identify himself or herself and furnish a home or business address before proceeding with any comments or remarks. The council will allow proponents a total of 10 minutes to speak in support of an application. Opponents will be allowed 10 minutes to speak in opposition. Comments are accepted first from the applicant, followed by persons speaking in favor, and then from those in opposition. Upon conclusion of any opposing comments or presentations, the Mayor Pro Tem will allow the applicant to offer rebuttal if any time is remaining in the originally allotted 10 minutes.
Thank you. And it's only fitting that we go right back to Molly.
Sorry, I had to pull it up. A resolution by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia for the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 capital improvement element in the annual report.
Thank you. Is George coming up? There he is.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The first item is consideration of a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2025 capital improvement element and annual report, the FY25 CIE and annual report. Just as a reminder, the CIE and annual report basically provides a means of tracking our performance, and it serves as a tool by the state as to measuring our progress and achieving community goals as outlined in our comprehensive plans. Council approved a resolution authorizing staff to transmit our CIE and annual report to ARC, the Atlanta Regional Commission, and DCA, the Department of Community Affairs, on March 23rd of this year. ARC notified the city on May 11th that DCA issued a finding of fact that our CIE adequately addresses the local planning requirements needed to maintain our city's qualified local government status. So basically, it's just an accounting of our annual expenditures of our impact fees. With that, we are asking for your approval of this resolution so we can transmit it to DCA.
Any questions from staff, from council? Seeing none, thank you, George.
Thank you.
We have any comments from comment cards?
No, sir, we do not.
Thank you. Seeing we have no comments from staff or council or the public, I'll go ahead and call for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that council approve the resolution adopting the fiscal year 2025 capital improvement element and annual report.
Second.
I have approval from Councilman Heitz and a second from Councilman Brady. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. And it does pass. Next up is MP-26-07/CU-26-06, the Honey Hall presentation. Honey Hall Preston Ridge MP. Ms. Cook.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. The next item before you can see on the screen, is at the corner of Webb and North Point Parkway. And the applicant, Jolena Wilkins, is requesting a master plan amendment and conditional use to operate a special event facility in a 3,120 square foot suite within the Preston Ridge Commons Shopping Center. Maximum capacity of up to 145 people is requested. Master plan and conditional use is requested to allow special event facility for the Honey Hall. And the subject property is located at 3055 North Point Parkway, Suites 800 and 900 at the southwest corner of Webb Bridge Road and North Point Parkway. And in the previous use, there was a CrossFit gym. Show you what that shopping center looks like. So although it's a mix of retail and office within the center, and they have over 700 parking spaces, we're looking at this corner here. This is the retail center. The other uses there, like Quest Diagnostics, there's also a Subway as well as a Mexican restaurant. So this is the retail portion of the larger office center. Preston Ridge Commons is approximately 6.34 acres, developed with a 14,286 square foot retail strip center. The office buildings are 12 of those. They're two-story, 159,110 square feet to the west and south of the retail center. The Honey Hall is a new business offering professionally managed reservation-only boutique special event space. The applicant's business would occupy suites 800 and 900. Again, that was where the gym was located. A maximum capacity of 145 people requested for the 3,120 square foot space. And according to the application, the facility would accommodate executive employee experience events, corporate training, professional workshops and seminars, client meetings, presentations, professional networking, small brand activations, as well as weddings, birthdays, and anniversaries. And the hours of operation will be from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days per week. The applicant will be the sole employee for the special event facility. Catering services may include serving alcohol, but there will be no alcohol sales permitted. And then traffic related, that's hard to determine because it could be smaller events. It's probably not going to be at AM and PM peak hours, but if you look at a total of, if there was 145 people there, total vehicle trips would be 58. We did look at the other businesses. 2 of them close at 6:30, so we believe there's a real opportunity to share, and the applicant has been able to obtain a parking easement agreement, access agreement that's located behind the building, still within the same center from the owner, so they would have an extra over 50 parking spaces that are located in close proximity. They also have a rideshare program. A lot of times for these events, you'll have a rideshare. So you can see in blue here, they have the drop-off area right here at the corner, and then it circles behind the building so it doesn't go back through the front parking lot. So they've thought of all of those different parking needs. The report submitted by the applicant states that the property owners were located within 500 feet. I have to brag a little bit on the applicant. I did at Planning Commission too, because really took to heart doing a good job of the public outreach and talked to all the different retailers that would be impacted. And we only received positive comments from the public outreach. We also had the community zoning information meeting May 13th. There were 2 public comments in support of the applicant's request. The item was considered at the June 4th Planning Commission meeting. There were no public comments, and after discussion, the commission did recommend approval subject to 8 different staff conditions. And that concludes staff presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those.
Any questions for Ms. Cook? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
And she did have a small presentation at the Planning Commission, brought that with you, so it may take a minute just to connect.
Oh, there's no audio.
For you.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking time to be here. My name is Julina Wilkins. I reside at 1358 Dalesford Drive, and I'm here to introduce you to the Honey Hall. These are the main points I'd like to share this evening. Please let me know if I'm moving too quickly so I can slow down for you. I'd like to ask for your support for the approval to open the Honey Hall, an upscale boutique, reservation-only special events venue designed for private celebrations, professional gatherings, and community-centered events in Alpharetta. Alpharetta represents the standard I want the Honey Hall to reflect. It's beautiful, clean, safe, family-focused, and thoughtfully planned. My family is the reason I purchased my home in Alpharetta and the reason I'm building the Honey Hall. This business is deeply personal. It's about creating stability, legacy, and a meaningful future for my children while contributing positively to the city we call home. I bring experience in project management, brand marketing, event coordination, vendor communication, timeline and budget management, and high visibility experiences. In addition to my professional experience, I hold a bachelor's degree in business management, and I have completed coursework towards Bachelor of Fine Arts in graphic design. The Honey Hall will be operated with structure, professionalism, and extreme attention to detail. The Honey Hall is an upscale, warm, modern event space designed for intimate celebrations, milestone events, corporate gatherings, and curated community experiences. The goal is not just to rent a room, it's to deliver a polished, well-managed guest experience. Families, professionals, small businesses and community organizations are in search of stunning, accessible venues to celebrate significant life and corporate events. The growing digital engagement and robust local vendor ecosystem, as well as the thriving business community, all demonstrate a distinct demand for boutique event space in Alpharetta. The Honey Hall will operate by advance booking only with defined packages, clear event windows, capacity limits, required agreements, deposits, house rules, vendor guidelines, and on-site venue support. This model allows each event to be planned, staffed, and managed responsibly. The goal is structured and sustainable business activity without creating disruption for surrounding businesses or the community. The Honey Hall will prioritize parking awareness, guest arrival and departure flow, noise expectations, vendor load-in and load-out procedures, trash removal, and respectful operating standards. Being a good neighbor is part of the business model. Before I close, there is one additional special commitment I'd like to make to our local community. As a mom to Elijah, our 7-year-old on the autism spectrum, I know how challenging social experiences can be. Everyday places, restaurants, movie theaters, even family events can bring stares, judgment, sensory overload that sometimes lead to meltdowns and ultimately isolation. Many of us turn to social media and support groups simply to feel validated, understood, and seen by other families on a similar journey. The Honey Hall is committed to creating a welcoming, judgment-free environment where families of children on the autism spectrum can come together, connect, share, support, and celebrate life's special moments just as they are. Thank you again for your time this evening and for considering the Honey Hall.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Councilman Dorito.
Thank you, Mayor Protem, and thank you, Ms. Wilkins, for your presentation. You have a beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I'm just curious about, is there a story behind the name?
There is, and they asked that in the Planning Commission meeting as well. I do have a creative brand where I do graphic design, I do resin art, I paint, just whatever I needed to do to decompress from my corporate job during the day. And that brand is called Jujubee Creative. Being in marketing and being creative, it was really important to me that the brand story was cohesive. And since I already had the bee and I already had that color in my branding, I just started to iterate on names and logos, and I love alliteration, so the Honey Hall just kind of stuck, and I fell in love with it, and I designed 100 logos, but it ended up being the first one that I designed that I went with, because it just felt right. So,
Very cool, thank you.
thank you.
Councilman Reeves.
We met at the CZIM meeting, and a lot of people that were there were very impressed that you were there and answered all their questions, and we're kind of excited about it. So thank you for being such a great applicant. It's really
Thank you so much.
been terrific to be out and see you there.
Thank you. If that's all, any comment cards, Ms. Orhosky?
No, sir, we do not have any.
Thank you.
But I need you to ask if there is public comment in support and then public comment in
Okay.
opposition.
If there is anybody here in support that would like to speak, please step forward. Anybody in opposition that would like to speak, please step forward. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, make a motion that council approve MP-26-07/CU-26-06, the Honey Hall Event Center, Preston Ridge, MP, subject to the conditions set forth in the staff report.
Second?
I have a motion from Councilman Hypes, a second from Councilman Dorito. Any comments, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. Thank you. Z-26-04/V-26-06, 1425 Mayfield Road. Mr. Woodman.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The next item before you is a request for rezoning and variance to allow for the construction of a five-lot, for-sale, single-family detached subdivision. The subdivision would be gated, and that's on about 4.5 acres. The proposed density is 1.09 dwelling units per acre. A rezoning is requested from AG Agriculture to R22, which is minimum 22,000 square foot lots or half-acre lots. And then a variance is requested to reduce the local street right-of-way width from 50 feet to 44 feet and to allow sidewalk on one side of the street. And I have the location map on the overhead. This property is located at 1425 Mayfield Road. It's located on the south side of Mayfield Road between the Crabapple Trace and Alpharetta Estates subdivisions. The property is developed with a one-story, about 1,700 square foot single-family home. Surrounding properties are zoned AG and R15. Unplatted residential lots are located to the north, east, and west. Crabapple Trace subdivision is located to the west. Alpharetta Estates subdivision is located to the south. The comprehensive land use plan designation of this property is very low-density residential. That particular designation supports rezoning to AG, RE, R, and R22. When we have multiple zoning districts that are appropriate within a future land use designation, we look at how the surrounding properties are developed. So what we found were the adjacent residential lots have an average lot size of 1.43 acres. The adjacent lots in platted subdivisions have an average lot size just under 1 acre, and the smallest lot adjacent to this property is 0.69 acres, or about 30,000 square feet. So that's where we arrived at the R22 zoning district, but staff did recommend a minimum lot size of 30,000 square feet to match that smallest adjacent lot size. As I mentioned, there is a variance request to reduce the local street right-of-way width from 50 feet to 44 feet, and that would allow for sidewalk on only one side of the street instead of both sides. And I'll just take you to the site plan real quick as we're discussing the variance. So the purpose of the variance is that the street is located on one side of the narrow property, so the sidewalk would only be on one side of the street. Not having a sidewalk on the other side of the street would allow for the applicant to provide a buffer adjacent to Crabapple Trace and in one of the unplatted lots to the west. Buffers are not required by code residential to residential, but that variance would provide additional room for them to provide buffer. In fact, they do indicate a buffer on both the west and east side of the development. We did look at some other subdivisions in the area, and we did find that the Gransley and Mayfield Estates subdivisions have similar right-of-way widths, so they do have reduced right-of-way widths in those subdivisions. And then looking at this site plan, this is the 4.5 acre property. The site plan depicts this property being subdivided into 5 detached lots. It is a gated subdivision. Access is from Mayfield Road. The lots are all on the east side of the property and oriented to the new private street. The paved width of that street is 28 feet. It's got a 5-foot sidewalk on the east side of the street with a 6-foot planter. And then, as you can see, the street terminates in a cul-de-sac with a center median. The lots on the site plan range in size from about 24,500 square feet to just over 25,000 square feet. and the average lot size is 24,735 square feet. As I mentioned earlier, applicant is requesting minimum 22,000 square foot lots. However, staff is recommending 30,000 square foot lots, and Planning Commission did accept that recommendation. If this was approved at minimum 30,000 square foot lots, you would likely have a 4-lot subdivision instead of the 5-lot that you see here. As I mentioned, buffers are not required residential to residential. The applicant is, though, showing a 10-foot landscape strip planted to buffer standards along the east side, the south side, and then on the west side, they had enough room to provide 15 feet landscape strip planted to buffer standards. Each of the homes will have 2 side-by-side parking spaces and a garage, as well as the code-compliant driveway with 2 additional spaces. The 28-foot paved width of the street would also allow for guest parking on one side of the street. This property has quite a number of trees. Most of the trees are on the southern half of the property. They're primarily hardwoods. There are 19 specimen trees on the tree survey and assessment that the applicant provided. The applicant is proposing to save 2 specimen trees, as well as a small grouping of smaller oaks in the middle of the property. The city arborist reviewed the applicant's request, and of course, our tree preservation ordinance requires a developer to make reasonable efforts to save trees. City arborist, after reviewing the applicant's request, went out to the property and looked at the trees and made a specific recommendation of tree saves on Lot 1, as well as tree save in the center median of the cul-de-sac. And then city arborist also recommended that the applicant make efforts to save additional tree groupings and trees of quality on the property. The applicant is showing an underground stormwater facility at the end of the development, so the south end of the development. That area would also serve as an 11,000 square foot pocket park, and there's a mail kiosk right next to that pocket park. These are photographs from the developer of the type of home that they would like to construct in this subdivision. And the exterior materials that we see in these photographs are brick, stone, and stucco. Of course, we looked at the applicant's requests against the review criteria for the rezoning and variance. We believe the proposal would be suitable as it relates to the use and development of adjacent and nearby properties. Of course, the R22 zoning district does match the future land use designation, and the development regulations in that zoning district are compatible with the narrow shape of the property. However, we did look at the surrounding properties and how they are developed in the smallest adjacent properties, approximately 30,000 square feet. And we do recommend, if approved, that the minimum lot size be 30,000 square feet in order to be compatible with that surrounding development pattern. As it relates to the variance, we do believe that the property has some exceptional and peculiar conditions due to the long, narrow shape of the property. As I mentioned earlier, the variance would allow for the applicant to provide landscape buffers adjacent to Crabapple Trace and the properties to the east. And then we also noted that the right-of-way width that is requested has been approved at some nearby subdivisions at Gransley and Mayfield Estates. The applicant did provide a citizen participation report. They indicated that they received public comments with concerns regarding increased traffic, tree removal, density, stormwater runoff. And then the applicant also provided several letters of support. We'll say that a lot of the comments that the applicant received were based on the initial site plan that was submitted to the city, which did show the property being subdivided into 9 lots. They did reduce that down to 6 lots and now to 5 lots. The applicant also met with 2 neighbors who had spoken in opposition at one of the Planning Commission meetings, the Planning Commission meeting on May 7th. Topics that were discussed at that meeting included stormwater pond design, stormwater discharge, tree removal. They discussed a tree removal requests for a detail of the 15-foot landscape strip, request for a 6-foot privacy fence along the western boundary of the property, and a request for additional trees between the neighbors' properties and proposed cul-de-sac. I believe those neighbors live in this vicinity on the west side of the development, southwest corner of the development. And then staff did receive some correspondence during this public hearing from nearby property owners in opposition. The concerns that were voiced in those comments included disruption during construction, traffic, financial burden from increased property taxes, tree removal, loss of green space, density, loss of privacy and buffering, stormwater runoff, utility impacts, and impacts to wildlife. And then this item was shown to the community at the April 8th Community Zoning Information Meeting. There were very similar public comments with similar concerns. As I mentioned, this item was considered by the Planning Commission at their May 7th meeting. There were 2 public comments in opposition to the applicant's request, concerns over stormwater runoff, tree removal, impacts to wildlife. After discussion, Planning Commission deferred the applicant's request to the June 4th Planning Commission meeting. They asked the applicant to relook at the recommended minimum lot size. They asked the applicant to provide a compliant tree save plan. They didn't have a tree save plan that met our requirements of the public hearing application at that time. And then they asked the applicant to meet with the adjacent neighbors that spoke in opposition to see if they could work through their concerns. And then at the June 4th Planning Commission meeting, there was 1 public comment in opposition, concerns related to impacts to the tree canopy, stormwater runoff. They preferred a 4-lot plan and asked the developer be held accountable to any conditions placed on the property. And ultimately, Planning Commission recommended approval subject to the staff recommended conditions, of which there are 18 conditions in the report in your packets, and that does include condition number 2, requiring a minimum lot size of 30,000 square feet. And that concludes the presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Any questions for Mr. Woodman? Councilman Driscoll.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So question for you on the 30,000 square foot lots. You said there's potentially it would go down to 4.
Correct.
But in that, and I've got to look through all the conditions, so pardon me on there, the additional landscape buffers that they've put in when they went from 9 to 6 to 5 and they're increasing the buffer, is it a condition that in the staff report that those would stay? So if it was to be approved at 30,000 square foot, the additional buffers that they've put in would stay in place? Those couldn't be removed to?
Yeah, great question. Yes, the answer is yes. Yeah, the buffers, if this was approved with minimum 30,000 square foot lots, requiring them to modify the site plan into 4 lots, the perimeter buffers that the applicant has committed to, those would remain. Yeah.
And then the second question I have there to follow would be, if it's approved here at 30,000 square foot, the final plat here, we're looking at 5 lots, we're at attention. How much movement in this, and what would that process look like from here?
Yeah, because of the linear shape of this and how it's subdivided, these lot lines between these will just likely shift down a little bit to result in these, for example, these 3 lots probably become, these 4 lots become 3 lots, and maybe this lot grows a little bit and this roundabout moves up a tad, but there shouldn't be a lot of change to the site plan going from 5 to 4 lots.
And I guess that movement then would help encourage the ability to save more of the trees that were there?
We do think that the 4-lot plan would provide more opportunity for the tree saves that are recommended in the conditions.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Michael. The applicant would like to come forward?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Den Webb, 1105 West Peachtree Street, Atlanta, Georgia, 30309, here on behalf of the applicant. Let me introduce the folks who are here with me. First, to my right is, well, raising her hand, and to her right are the principals of Mayfield Development, Jamie Wonder and Stephen Bates. To Stephen's right is John Murder, who is our project engineer. All are ready and willing to take your questions if necessary. Let me touch on a couple things that Michael mentioned in no particular order. First of all, and I've got an image of this, but you'll notice Michael was talking about the subdivisions nearby. The one he missed was the one lot east to us, which you saw on that image is Marigold Estates. That's a new subdivision, 11 lots, developed under R15. It's on the ground now. There is no vertical construction yet, but the roads and infrastructure are in. So that is actually also a very close subdivision to us. Michael mentioned trees. You know, we've spent a lot of time on that. There are a lot of questions at the Planning Commission about the trees. That's actually why John Murder's here, right, in case we get into that today. But they, after the Planning Commission, for the record, I asked for deferral with the Planning Commission. So we had the two neighbors to our west who came and had some issues. One showed a video with a runoff problem, and I was the one who said, look, I want to go meet with these guys. I want to primarily understand what that runoff issue is, right? So we went to their backyards, we talked, they explained what their concerns were, and I've added some conditions, which I'll talk about a little bit later to try and address those tonight. But in any event, it is certainly our intent to meet all requirements of the tree preservation ordinance. We do agree with most of the tree save areas that Mr. Shostak pointed out, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Lot 1 and the problem there. There are trees on that lot that really almost consume all of the frontage, all the buildable area along the frontage of our internal road, and so we're asking for a little relief there. Councilman Driscoll, asked a question about the impact of 30,000 square foot lots. It's not going to make them any deeper. It'll just make them a little bit wider, if that's the direction it went. So the geometry of the site is essentially fixed. And lastly, Mr. Woodman mentioned we've gotten several letters of support. We've gotten 23 letters of support, so I just want to clarify that. Let me talk about a few things here, and I'm trying not to replow the same ground. But again, Mr. Woodman mentioned that we are in the very low density residential character area under the comp plan. That allows 2 units an acre. As you heard, what we're proposing tonight at 5 lots is only about 1.08. So we're sort of in the middle of that range. I want to talk a little bit about the area we're in because that's really the issue here. You'll see our property here outlined in blue. Again, that's 4.6 acres. You'll notice this development to the right in pink or red, that is the Marigold Estates development that I was just talking about, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But as you'll see, we are surrounded by a sea of pale yellow. Every single one of those lots is pale yellow, is zoned R15, which allows 15,000 square foot lots. And if you look at a closer image of our site, you'll notice that 7 of the lots that we touch are also zoned R15, which allow for 15,000 square foot minimums. And the one lot to our west, or northwest essentially, that is zoned AG15, Ms. Wonder lives in. So she is the developer here and will be really the most impacted by what we're proposing here. So 7 of the 8 lots we touch are actually zoned R15 now, which again would allow for 15,000 square foot lots. Again, going back to this image of Mayfield Estates, as I said, and if you've been out there, you know that property's been developed. The road's in, the pipes in, everything but vertical construction is there. And that site, 1 lot to our east, again, we're here, that's Marigold, allows and is developed at 15,000 square feet minimum square foot lots. I'm going to point out this development here too, because Michael mentioned this is Mayfield Estates. This is one that came before the council just a couple years ago. It was zoned R22, which is the same district we're asking for here, and it has a 25,000 square foot minimum. And that's important to us because we are trying to get something close to that number ourselves. Here is the site, we've been through several iterations of the site plan, but this is the current one. As Michael mentioned, it's 5 lots. We've included landscape strips planted to buffer standards on both Page North and Page South. Again, shrinking that roadway down by about 5 feet allows us to expand the planted buffer on that Page North side, which we think is important because, again, if you go back to that map, everything around us is R15. We think there's every reason to think that the properties to our east will be redeveloped. I think it's less likely that it will happen to our Page North. So that's why we focused on trying to add to that buffer there. It's also why we shifted everything to the east. You'll notice that all the development really occurs on this side, which again was to remove it from our properties to the west, which we believe will be redeveloped at some point, but may well maintain their minimum lot size. Michael showed you the house images. I'm not going to really rip through those. But the expected price point for these properties is around $4 million. All right, let me get to sort of the main event. I mentioned in the beginning that we have 23 letters of support. You heard that we had a recommendation of approval from staff. We have a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission. There are really just 2 issues, I think, at this point. And the first is what Michael touched on, which is the lot size. And some of you may recall that we've been working at this for a long time. We actually started with a 9-lot plan that was developed under the R15 district with a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. We submitted it. It was socialized here in this building, and the message we got back is, we'd rather see R22 here. So that's what we submitted. The first site plan that we submitted was for 6 lots zoned at R22 with a minimum lot size of 22,000 square feet. When we got the staff report back, there were a number of conditions that would have required changes to the site plan. So we went ahead and tried to work through those before we even went to the Planning Commission. And we made almost all of those changes, which again required some edits to the site plan, one of which was reducing our lot size from 5 to 6. So that's how we got to where we are today. But the staff, as you heard, is recommending a 30,000 square foot minimum. And we tried to see if we could meet that before the Planning Commission hearing. The closest we could get, the smallest lot is now 24,600 square feet. Again, remember, the City Council approved just a couple years ago Mayfield Estates at 25,000 square feet right across the street. But our smallest lot would be 24,600 square feet. Every other lot would be larger. And so, we think our request is reasonable for a number of reasons, which I think I've articulated to some of you folks in an email. But number one, 7 of the 8 lots we touch are, again, R15, which tomorrow could be developed with 15,000 square foot lots with no approvals necessary. Most of the lots in this area, which is seeing redevelopment already, is evidenced by Marigold Estates, is evidenced by Mayfield Estates, is R15 now and will be developed under R15. Again, as I mentioned, we expect redevelopment to our east. We think that's the most likely. That's why we've shifted the houses to the east and focused on sort of that development side. And again, Mayfield Estates, which is across the street, has a 25,000 square foot minimum. We're asking for 24,600, 400 square feet less than you guys approved right across the street. And that is reflected in condition number 2. You can see we simply amended that language from 30,000 square feet to 24,000 square feet. The other condition I want to talk about relates to trees. The language proposed by staff was that we basically save 2 of 4 specimen oaks on lot 1. Get to the right site plan here. And this is lot 1 right here. Just really relates to that one lot. And as I mentioned before, we've got trees on that site now which really impact the buildable area. And this is an image here. You'll see a 10,000 square foot image of lot 1 here. You'll notice these bubbles here along our driveway. I've got a close-up image of that. These are the trees that Mr. Shostak wants to save. Number one, we are absolutely agreeable to saving 2 specimens on lot 1, but there are a couple different options over there, and we'd like to be able to make that choice. One is a maple here, which is a fantastic tree right along Mayfield Road, and there's a 15-inch oak here, which we also would like to save as our second specimen tree. The fundamental problem is that you'll see that the buildable area is eaten up by these root balls, and we've got to get a driveway into lot 1. And we know that even if we cut one in, even if we try and save one of these trees, particularly 291 and 293, the critical root zone is going to be impacted to the extent where those trees won't survive. We know we can save 15, that 15-inch oak, which is why we're asking for the leeway on the condition number 11, which relates to trees. Lastly, I mentioned that we had some meetings with neighbors. We've added these conditions here as number 17, A through E, really to address specifically the comments that they made when we were on their properties. And I will stop here, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that particular condition or any others. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Councilman Dorito.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, Mr. Webb.
Good evening.
Do you know offhand, you referenced Mayfield Estates a few times in your presentation. What's the width of that strip versus the width of?
It's comparable. So this is the Mayfield Estate. I don't know the exact dimensions, but this is the Mayfield Estate site plan. It looks almost exactly like ours. I don't know if I can blow this up and see.
I guess I'm asking, is it the width larger, bigger?
I think it's comparable. I'm trying to see if I can blow this up and get it. I'm sure it's on here. Hold on 1 second. Make this bigger. All right, this line here. This is a little bit of a guess because I'm trying to piece together these lines. It looks like it's around 150 feet to 200 feet wide, which is comparable to what we're proposing too, yes.
You showed Lot 1 and the tree save and
Yes, sir.
difficulty with one of the trees with the driveway. How many, and I don't know if this is a question for you or to Mr. Woodman. I don't think our arborist is here, is he? How many specimen trees are in that area in the front? Because you made reference to, like, a lot of them were kind of impeding upon Lot 1 and had to be removed because of that.
So I'm aware of 4, right? These 3 here, 293 and 291, the 15-inch oak, and this maple, which is marked as 290. We're proposing to save 2 of the 4. Showstack has asked us to save 2 of the 4. He just wants a different 2.
Okay. And from your perspective, what's the difference in what he wants saved versus what you're trying to do? Like, why would he want to save certain trees? Are they?
Well, I mean, that's his job.
Are they larger width or?
You know,
the type of tree?
John, this might be a good opportunity for you. John, I wasn't in the meetings with Mr. Shostak. As I mentioned, after the Planning Commission, we sat down with him again to make sure we were doing everything we could there, and maybe I need to turn that question over.
John Murray with Kimley-Horn. I don't want to speak for David as to what he was thinking, but the 290 is a large Japanese maple, not an oak, and the 15-inch is not specifically a specimen. The other 3 are. So there are 4 specimens on the lot. He asked for 2 oaks. I don't know if he meant 2 oaks or just 2 specimen trees. The 15 is obviously smaller, has a better chance of survival. So I think that's why we're leaning towards that one, even though it's not a specimen tree. The biggest issue is Mayfield Road sits higher than the property, and where those oaks are sitting, they're a good 7 to 8 feet below the road. In order to get the driveway in, we have to fill that, and so we're going to be filling on those roots, and they will not survive, even if we tried to save them. And there's no other way in the property because it's only 200 feet wide. The only other thing to do would be to flip the road to the south, which that was our first rendition. And for reasons that Dan mentioned with neighbors and that kind of thing is why we moved the road to the north.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you. Ms. Gorhosky, do we have any comment cards? For or against?
We do. Both are in opposition. Let's see, Miss Peggy Frazier, if you will come forward. Oh, to your husband? Okay. Mr. Frazier.
He's
and gentlemen. Good evening. It's
Good
been a
evening,
long
Mr.
day.
Frazier.
I
Just to
won't-
let you know, we allow
sorry?
we allow 3 minutes for comments.
How many?
3?
Well,
Three. He
just
was
to-
afforded 10 minutes,
Uh,
over 10 minutes in his presentation.
I can clarify, the 3 minutes per speaker is just for the general public comment on non-public hearing items. So we keep time for 10 minutes per side on this, and I'm keeping the time as
Okay.
well as Mr.
So
Lagerblum.
there's 10 total, so if you use all 10 up.
Thank you. First thing I want to do is I want to identify myself. I'm Gibbs Frazier, and I live at 1355 Bethany Court. And we are a piece of property, we live on a piece of property that adjoins the west side of the proposed development. And there is just a large collection of big, beautiful, some of which are the specimen trees, and some of them don't make the grade. They kind of didn't get selected with the National Honor Society, but they're good students. And they provide a really beneficial benefit, their existence does. And I want to use one word in particular, that's the canopy. You see, when all trees get taken down and substitutionary trees get planted, something happens, and that's the removal of the canopy. Now that directly affects our backyard and our deck, because right now in the morning our deck is habitable. But because of the orientation of the deck with the morning sunrise, it's going to really be uninhabitable in the morning once those canopy trees get removed. I want to tell a little imaginary story, and my apologies in advance to the police officers here. This is just kind of a go-for-it story, but I thought I'd like to make a point by telling this imaginary story so we all could engage our imagination for just a moment. This is about a fictitious town called Alphaville. And in Alphaville, they had a problem with speeding. And so the mayor, and he's not here right now, of Alphaville, enacted new aggressive speed enforcement. And there was somebody who was, suffice to say, sort of like Barney Fife. He really wanted to, aggressively enforce the law. So the first person that broke the law 1 mile an hour over the speed limit was summarily given a ticket and arrested. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and such and so on and so forth. Well, as you can imagine, it didn't go over real well. Well, that's an example of the letter of the law, observing the letter of the law. And our nation and our towns, our cities' laws are open to 2 interpretations. One is the observation and enforcement of the letter of the law, and the other one is the observation and enforcement of the spirit of the law. And sometimes those conflict with one another. So right now, I believe that we have a spirit of the law conflicting with the letter of the law situation. I hear that we're going to, in all good graces, we're going to save 3 of X many specimen trees, and all the other trees that didn't meet the National Honor Society criteria for being a specimen tree, although they're healthy, they're tall, they're big, and they serve a purpose. And I would ask all of you for empathy for this situation, because we have an opportunity to make a statement about the spirit of the law. I believe that the tree ordinance was made because we wanted to send a statement about the spirit of the law, not count just trees and say, hey, I've done it here, I've done it there. The developer had his landscape engineer here, and he talked about trees, and he said his very words, and it's not a direct quote, but it's a paraphrase, his very words were, well, we can't save these trees because if we yank one out, the critical zone root damage occurs. Well, that applies to us too. Trees that are right adjacent to our property that we would like to see saved, and those are those non-National Honor Society trees, those get yanked out. They'll affect our critical root zone trees too. And so I would just ask again for mercy and some empathy in this situation, keeping in mind the spirit of the law, not just, the letter of the law. Yes,
we can count trees, but I think we can do both. I think this is a yes and, if that makes sense. It's not a yes but it's a yes and. And my grandfather had this one saying, I'll turn 71 and conclude with this. But when I used to like to ask my grandfather, can I do this? Can I go shoot 22? Can I go do this? Because I knew my parents wouldn't say yes. So my grandfather was a yes guy, and he'd say, sure, why not? So the question I asked you, is it possible we can get a sure, why not, to save a few more trees, those non-National Honor Society trees that aren't recognized as specimen trees, but they serve a very valuable purpose. Thank you so much for your time and putting up with me.
Ms. Orhosky?
So, Ms. Frazier, are you not going to come speak? No. Okay, then we have no more comment cards.
Would anybody else like to speak this evening in opposition? Please step forward to state your name and your address.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, those watching at home, and citizens in attendance. I'm Bill Lawler. I'm here this evening with my mother, Belinda Lawler. We live at 1365 Bethany Court in Alpharetta in the Crabapple Trace subdivision. We've been there since 1997, and we've watched Alpharetta change. We've watched all the farms disappear and the subdivisions come. We're not going to vote yes on a subdivision of this size directly adjacent to us. The impact is too great. I put together a long letter and submitted it during the zoning commission meeting. There was a lot of points of fact of why we felt it wasn't good. And I am here speaking not only for our family, the families in our neighborhood, but all those that were not given a voice, the animals, the trees, and what have you. We've had our lives turned upside down these last 6 months. We've had to have a crash course in zoning law, civil law, and what we were actually able to do to combat this project. And it's been stressful, to say the very least. Somebody said that they'd rather go to the dentist than have to deal with this. And I could believe that at this point in the game. One of my biggest concerns is when we moved into our property almost 30 years ago, we were told we could not build a structure at a particular portion of our property because it was adjacent to a spring, which I went ahead and submitted in my letter. Now, through this entire process, no one has brought this up. There's been no hydrological study of the property. Now, why was it not okay for me to build a garage there, but okay for them to build a road and 5 houses there? No answers to that. Anytime this group's been asked a direct question, they floundered, babbled, and it's all come back to Mayfield Estates. We're not here tonight to discuss what was pushed through during COVID. We are here to discuss 1425 Mayfield and whether this subdivision is something that's good for Alpharetta and good for the surrounding residents. It's not. I'm sorry I feel so passionately about this, but this is the first time that I've ever been able to even meet with Jamie Wonder, my next door neighbor. There's just something wrong with that. And I really, really hope that enough people are here tonight with common sense that aren't going to go ahead and go after the $20 million carrot that's being dangled in front of you. $4 million house on not even half an acre? I mean, I know there's some good drugs on the street, but I don't know how we got there. I don't even know what we're doing here tonight because they did not meet the criteria of the zoning board and the staff recommendations. So I hope we're here tonight just to finally get a final vote of no, and we can all move on with our lives. And I will not take up any more of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody present would like to get up and speak in support of this item? Seeing none, I'll turn it back over to the applicant for rebuttal.
He has 16 seconds for rebuttal.
I'm going to talk fast. All right, number one, Mr. Frazier mentioned trees. For the record, we went out there was a border tree, a huge specimen tree that he asked us to remove because he was worried about it falling on his house. But as I mentioned before, there's a tree ordinance. You know, we are certainly meeting the spirit and the legality of that. Second of all, he mentioned border trees. Again, those are protected by code. We provided information to him on that.
And that's time.
I guess I'll stop there. I could address two more, but.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I will call for a vote, or I will call for a motion. Okay?
The one question, because I want to make sure before I make.
No, that's fine.
Before I make a motion. Dean Schweb had some additional conditions that he had put. Are those in addition to the conditions the city put on it? I'm just trying to make sure, because we've got.
Number 17.
17.
Yeah, let me.
The applicant's condition that had several items related to things that they committed to do for the neighbors was included by Planning Commission in the conditions. It's condition number 18 in your staff report.
So the 18 conditions presented matches their conditions plus staff's, and staff's in favor of all of those 18 conditions, and that's what Planning Commission approved.
The staff report in your packet is Planning Commission's recommendation, which is the staff recommendation. That's what they.
I just want to make sure that those were included.
And it was the staff recommendation with the applicant's additional condition at the very end that dealt with the commitments to the neighbors.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, everybody on board? Go ahead, call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve Z-26-04-V-2606 1425 Mayfield Road based on the conditions presented by staff in our report.
Do I have a second?
So that, Mayor Pro Tem would fail for lack of a second. So that motion does not take any other action from here. That fails for lack of a second. So you would seek a different
Subsequent.
motion.
I'll call for a subsequent motion.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that council denies Z-26-04/V-26-06-1425 Mayfield Road.
Second?
Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. And it does not pass in a vote of 5-1.
Yes, just to clarify.
Right, I get that, I'm upside down.
Okay.
Motion to deny passed in a vote of 5-1. Next up, V-26-10, Truck and Tap Stage, Michael Woodman.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The next item before you is a request for variance to eliminate the 10-foot rear setback on a property to allow for the construction of a covered music performance stage at the rear property line. This is on a .129 acre property in the downtown. It is Truck and Tap. This property is here, located at 30 Milton Avenue between Highway 9 and Roswell Street. Truck and Tap has been hosting live musical performances since 2020. Currently, the applicant utilizes a small modular performance stage temporarily located at the rear of the property in the food truck service area. Let me go to this aerial here. So this is the building, Truck and Tap's building. Here at the rear of their development, they have a food truck staging area. And I'm not certain, but I think this may be that temporary stage that they had been utilizing in the past. When we received this application, we reached out to our code enforcement division just to understand if there had been any noise complaints with the musical performances at Truck and Tap. And according to code enforcement, they had not received any complaints. However, we did speak to the Parks and Recreation Department, and they did request that the applicant coordinate with the city during city special events downtown so that the musical acts are not competing. This property is Zone C2, developed with a 20,000 square foot freestanding building. And let me go to the proposed site plan. So this is the building, the rear food truck staging area. Food truck usually sits over here and sometimes over on the other side. This is the proposed location for the stage. That stage is 12 by 16. It is 10 feet tall. And as I mentioned, it is a covered stage. I'll show you what that looks like here. You see at the bottom of the page, the proposed stage, and the stage faces the rear of the building. Behind the stage is the city's parking lot. By facing the stage to the back of the building, they're directing noise to the back of the building and not to the adjacent properties. And then, of course, the covering will help direct noise to the back of the building as well. As I mentioned, that back area is already paved, so this will not add any additional impervious area to the site. And as you see in the rendering here, there's a screen wall on the back of the stage that would screen the stage from the parking lot behind it. We also did recommend a condition of zoning requiring landscaping at the rear of the stage to soften the look of the stage from the parking lot. Exhibit. Of course, we looked at the applicant's request against the review criteria for a variance. We believe there are exceptional conditions on this property related to its size. It's a very small property. It's 0.129 acres. Leaves very limited space for any type of accessory structures like a performance stage. Enforcement of the 10-foot rear setback on this property would likely result in the stage being positioned off to the side. So they could position the stage here or potentially here. Of course, if they were to do that, that would direct the noise to the neighboring properties. The applicant provided a citizen participation report indicating that they'd received no public comments, and there was one public comment in support at the May 13th Community Zoning Information Meeting. And then there was one with concerns that just mentioned concerns about traffic, noise, and security. With that, staff is recommending approval of the applicant's request, subject to the 5 conditions in the staff report in your packets. And again, the conditions would allow for the stage to be set on the rear property line. The conditions also tie the approval to the submitted site plan and renderings that I showed. The conditions also would require a row of shrubs and vining landscaping on, such as Confederate jasmine at the base of the screen wall on the stage, on the rear side, so soften the look of that stage from the city's public parking lot. There is also a condition requiring that food trucks not encroach upon the pedestrian access easement along the east side of Truck and Tap. And then there's the final condition addresses Truck and Tap, asking that they coordinate music events with the city's Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Services Department to avoid conflicts. And that concludes the presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Questions? Councilman Hopes.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Woodman, couple questions. First on the permanency or lack of permanency. Is this conditioned to be a permanent structure irrespective of who the owner of that establishment is, or is this being permitted only as to that owner, so long as it's Truck and Tap?
This approval would run with the property. It is not just for Truck and Tap.
So we, okay. And,
But it is specific to the site plan. So for example, if someone were to purchase this property and they wanted to enlarge the building, that wouldn't allow them to have a 0-foot setback for a building.
many of us are familiar with the music downtown and at Truck and Tap. I asked that first question because we can know our neighbor Truck and Tap, but then we don't know who may own that facility for whatever reason, whenever. And if it became more of a full-blown stage, so to speak, than just a performer and an amp, you know, what rights do we have in terms of the permanency of that? I mean, is there anything conditional about this where we can say you've lost your right to use that if it becomes too loud downtown? It's not just Milton Avenue. You've got people immediately stage left who are eating in the alleyway at Ceviche. And I'm really proud of how well all the owners get along with each other and work with each other. But I have to account if this is permanent. I don't know who the next owner is, and I don't know what they have planned. So how do we deal with, if it gets too loud, is it just a noise ordinance thing at that point? Is there?
Correct. It would be the noise ordinance. If they're in violation of the noise ordinance, then we could take action.
Next question has to do with appearance. Is it pretty well understood that the rear of this structure does not qualify for an exception to additional signage for the establishment?
The sign code would not allow for additional signage on this structure. The applicant is allowed a wall sign on the back of the building, which they already
Correct.
have a wall sign, and it's required to be attached to the building.
I wouldn't want to create a precedent that we can pass, outside structures, and that becomes basically another billboard for an establishment.
Understood.
And that's where our position would be.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Reeves.
Thank you for the presentation. The lattice that's proposed for the back of there, that's going to be on the back side of the stage facing the parking lot. I don't know how they're going to do it with stain or with paint or whatever, but it would continue on the back. We wouldn't have any bare wood showing, right?
So they are proposing a wood slat screen wall, and it would look like a wood slat screen wall from the city parking lot.
It would be
side.
finished in something.
Yes, yes, it would be stained, and
sealed or
they included a material in their submittal. They include information about the materials and indicate that it would be stained.
Thank you very much. I just want to make sure that it looks nice from the side, from the parking.
It would be finished, yes. There is a condition that gives staff approval of that structure. If you think that it should go to design review board, that's certainly a change that you could make.
Councilman Brady.
Mine's also just kind of questions on appearance, because aesthetics really matters, right? I mean, right there, and it's a critical kind of piece. So just the fencing that's on the back, that's two-sided, right? That's not going to look like a back of a fence versus it's going to have the appearance that both sides will have that.
It's going to have a
front-facing
finished side,
feel,
yes,
right?
on the back side.
And then
both
there's going to
sides.
be, like I said, a landscaping, like arborvitaes or something like that on the kind of the back side. Is the roof that's covered like impervious? Does it go backwards, or how's the water come off it?
The roof, as you can see here, it's got a flat roof on it. It appears that it is, and I believe they've indicated that it's a standing seam metal roof. They've indicated that here in their material list.
So we can put some, I know this is going way to some rocks or something like that, because I'm sure the water flows off, and we get a lot of rain, so it's gonna hit all the mulch. Mulch goes all over the place. I'm just trying to create not having a mess. So I'm sure the applicant's gonna do the greatest job ever of having a great wall, but we just want it aesthetically to look the best.
Understood.
Some gutters, something like that. All right, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Councilman Hypes.
That's what I love about council. People point out stuff that, you don't even think about, but 0 lot line, so it is right against the public sidewalk, right?
It's not against the public sidewalk. There's actually a landscape area and then the sidewalk.
How wide is the landscape area?
So it's about it's about 7 feet, and then the sidewalk is, I believe, close to 8 feet.
So it's 7 feet away from the sidewalk? I apologize for not picking that up. Okay.
I've got an exhibit here that will show you that a little bit better.
So if the shed roof does tilt backwards, it's not going to fall on people on the sidewalk, the rain?
It is not going to fall on the people on the sidewalk, no. Councilman Hypes, this would be the property line here, and there's about a 7-foot planter area before you get to the sidewalk, and then the parking spaces. So the water would flow into this pervious area that is mulched, I believe.
Thank you.
Councilman Reeves.
I want to thank you for adding the condition about the coordination with the city, especially on events. Because I got to tell you, the music at Truck and Tap, we love it. Like, we go there all the time, and I think they pick great artists. But like, we spend a lot of Brew Moon at Truck and Tap, so it is competing. So being conscious of that, I think, is really smart in the long run for everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. Have the applicant come forward?
Pick your poison.
All right, well, will the monsters state their name and address, please?
Mayor Pro Tem and council, thanks for hearing this out. Mitch Jaffe. I'm at 793 Old HK Wagon Road in Cleveland, Georgia.
I am Cliff Kreider at 241 Morning Mist Way, Woodstock, Georgia.
Just wanted to say that we've reviewed the conditions. We've had a lot of communication with Mr. Whitman and met with Kathy Cook. And we're in agreement with all the conditions that have been suggested. They're all good suggestions. It was good, constructive back and forth. And we feel like going from a modular 8x8 stage to a little bit bigger with the artist covered, something more aesthetic, landscaped. One of the big reasons why we want to go back to the 0 lot line setback is because you create a little bit more room in front of the stage. We are a small parcel. It just ergonomically makes sense, aesthetically makes sense. And one of the things that was brought up here was every time there's a food truck alley, we always coordinate with those people or any of the events. We make a point of scheduling our artists on food truck alley. Our artist doesn't start till theirs ends, for example. So we do a good job communicating the best we can with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaffe. Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Orhosky.
We have no comment cards.
Okay, well, if anybody in the audience would like to come up and speak in support of this item, please do so now. And seeing none, we'll go to the other side. Anybody opposed to this, please come forward now. Seeing none there either, I will go ahead and call for a vote or a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, make a motion, council approve V-26-10 truck and tap stage variance subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Heifs, a second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. And the motion passes 6-0. Congratulations. Next up this evening is PH-26-092045 Alpharetta Comprehensive Plan Adoption Hearing. I'm going to ask Molly to read the resolution title out loud, please.
A resolution by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia for the adoption of the Alpharetta 2045 Comprehensive Plan.
Great. Mr. Woodman?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So this evening, we are asking or seeking your approval of the adoption of the Alpharetta 2045 Comprehensive Plan update. As you may recall, on May 18th, you authorized us to transmit the draft plan to the Department of Community Affairs and Atlanta Regional Commission. They have completed their review, and beside a couple of small edits, they have determined that the update complies with the applicable state standards, and so we are seeking your approval this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Woodman? Thank you, Michael. Mr. Orhosky,
We have no comment cards.
even though if anybody would like to come up here and speak in support of this, please step forward. Seeing none, I'll move to objections. Anybody that objects to this, please step forward. Seeing none there either, I will call for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, make a motion that council adopt the resolution for adopting the comprehensive plan PH-26-09 Alpharetta 2045 comprehensive plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Heifs, a second by Councilman Dorito. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. And it does pass. Thank you. Next up, under new business, stormwater repair contract 24-122, fiscal year 2027, task order number 1. Mr. Pete Sesek.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Before you is our task order 1 for next fiscal year for stormwater repair throughout the city. We have identified 8 locations that our crews cannot complete. So this is our on-call vendor, CSTE. We matched their pricing with all the other pricing received when the RFP went out, and CSTE still remains the lowest bid. So we're at $730,973.93 to complete the work.
Thank you. Any questions for Pete? Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Oh, Councilman Brady.
Thank you, Pete. Are you in budget?
Am I within budget?
Yes, sir.
I'll have to answer it as honest as I possibly can and say, we have an account, and we pull from that account. So we are pulling numbers, these projects, from that account. So yes, we are within budget. We cannot go over that budget. So it's our allocation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting
Okay.
to. You plan for this, you have
Yes,
it,
sir.
you're in budget. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
All right, you finished, Pete?
Yes.
Anybody here would like to speak in favor of this item? Anybody in opposition of this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion that we approve task order for the award of funds in the amount not to exceed $730,973.93 to CSTE, Inc. to complete multiple stormwater infrastructure maintenance repairs pursuant to the August 12th, 2024 contract 24-122 stormwater repair unit price contract for the fiscal year 2027 Task Order 1 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Reeves and a second by Councilman Brady. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. And it too does pass.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Mayor
We
Pro Tem.
got one from the beginning. I was going to point that the work session is the one we announced earlier is not going to be heard tonight. All right, back to the beginning. Chris.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, we're going to have George present on that item that was removed from the consent agenda on Canton and Mayfield.
Thank you. Thank you, George. It's all yours.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm here to represent the city through what was a consent agenda item. It's a deeding of right-of-way from private property to become city public right-of-way for the Hudson Park development. It's currently still in the final plat phase. And back in May of 2021, there was a zoning condition of approval that stipulated that this right-of-way be dedicated to become public right-of-way. So we have been in communication with the private developer, their representative, regarding adhering to this condition of approval, and that's why we're here tonight.
Any questions? Councilman Hypes.
Just so it's plainly stated and people who don't have access to the information in the packet, this particular item affects only the southeast corner of the intersection of Canton and Mayfield?
That is correct.
No other properties are impacted by this particular item?
Correct. It is just the parcel in the southeast corner, correct.
So I was approached by some people who saw the item on the agenda, and they wanted clarity, and I thought we should give them clarity.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Any
Thank you,
other
George.
questions?
Any other questions? Thanks not. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if you would still ask for public comment on this item before calling for the motion and vote.
Absolutely. Anybody here that would like to come up and speak in favor of this item? Anybody care to come up and speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, at this time I will ask for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move that council approve the right-of-way deed agreement between City of Alpharetta and Mayfield Canton Development Group, LLC, for the Canton on Mayfield development, and authorize mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Hypes and a second by Councilman Reed. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. And the motion does pass. All right, seeing that's the last one on there. Any announcements? Up and down the dais. All right, slow news week. We'll get back to it. We come up with some more stuff by next time. Any reports? All right, reports and announcements can go together. I'm told we do not have an executive session. Can you confirm that?
I can confirm, and your next meeting is July 13th.
So this is our last meeting of the year.
If you were asking, yes, and also the last meeting before the 4th of July. If anybody would want to make reference to the 3rd and the 4th events that's occurring on the 4th, I'd appreciate that update. That would be great.
Sure, I'd be more than happy to. Lots of people working really hard to make Alpharetta the most special place in the metro area to be, to celebrate America 250. So we will have live music and a drone show in downtown Alpharetta above City Hall and on the town green on the night of Friday, July 3rd. It will be a big crowd, and it will be a patriotic crowd, and you will be proud, and you won't want to miss being there. And then, obviously, the next day, 4th of July, Saturday, Wills Park, we will be having a bigger, better, and badder 4th of July fireworks show in Wills Park. And another thing that came to my attention is right out here in the rotunda on the same 4th of July weekend, we will have some original art from Peter Max on display. And that's a pretty cool thing. We've got the Statue of Liberty by it's an original, is that right, Morgan? Peter Max amongst some other items. So if you could pick a place to be in Metro Atlanta on 4th of July weekend, you're going to want to be in Alpharetta.
Here, here. I hear.
And before we adjourn, Mayor Pro Tem, I need you to ask if there's any general public comment.
Okay, I got general public left. Any general public have any comments on anything you want for 3 minutes? All right, seeing none, thank you. At this time, I will call for a motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
I've got a motion by Councilman DeRito, a second by Councilman Reeves. Thank you for putting up with my stumbling through this meeting tonight. We'll see y'all at the 4th.